have to make sure that you're reviewing the models so that you're clear on what we need to do. So everybody please turn to page 150, and that's going to be the getting ready for the lab final for exercise 19. Okay, so what we're first of all, there's a couple things that I want you to notice in here. We went over some of this already. For example, some of the nerves. So we went over like some of the arm nerves and things like that. And let me see, what did we go over exactly? We went over the plexuses already, so we'll go over it, but I'm gonna leave that for last. So we went over in page 129, which was exercise 17, the nervous system. We went over the cervical, brachial, lumbar, sacral plexus, and then the various nerves within these coming off of these various plexuses. Okay, so that was great. So we already have kind of a grounding for that. So we're going to go over this, but not till later. And if you look at this, you already know most of them. The nervous system models, well, we did most of that. And then the stuff under what's called the spinal cord cross X, top left blue box, we're going to go over that. And actually, but what we're going to do today is we're going to start with that material on the microscope slide. I know it seems a little counterintuitive, but that's just the way it is. For the reflexes, we're going to have a quick talk through with it, but basically everything you need to know about the reflexes is in your lab manual. So for lecture, we go over the reflexes. We go over the Achilles stretch and the patellar, we go over the Achilles stretch reflex. The patellar stretch is just an example of a stretch reflex like the Achilles is. And then we go over we have a stretch reflex, and then we have the Golgi tendon reflex. So in terms of those reflexes on page 150, all of that information is in your lab manual. So you are completely fine if you just read up on it. That's all you need to do. So just read up on the reflexes in the lab manual, and you're good to go on that, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over the microscope slide spinal cord. That information we will do on the spinal cord cross X. If we get started today, great. If we don't, that's okay. And then we will go over the spinal cord cross X and spinal cord cross X plus vertebra. We'll probably do that next week. It looks crazy, but those two are basically the same thing. Once we knock out the microscope slide spinal cord, that's the major vocabulary and location. So we've got a lot taken care of when we've done that. And again, looking back at the nervous system models, looking at the spinal cord model, we've done most of that, right? So we're going to just go ahead and do that. I did not see a hanging spinal cord model. Did anyone see the hanging spinal cord model? Because now that we've talked about this, I may have to go and look at the individual lesson. The hanging spinal cord model it's a hanging model. Like it looks like it's hanging up. Okay, I'm going to check, but literally it's the vertebra, which is so weird. So there's not much there, but I'll go check. Dominique, go ahead. I have to check on this. Dominique, did you have a question? Okay, no problem.
No, all right, guys. No, I did it. Okay. I don't know why it never cleared out from last time.
Oh, sorry. That's probably something I have to do. So yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you. All right, guys. Awesome. All right. So basically, with that being said, what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on that microscope slide spinal cord. We're going to knock it out. Okay, good. I think I can get this. There we go. We're going to knock out that information. We're going to spend the time there, and then all of that transfers directly to the model, right? If we have time for the model, great. If not, we are going to knock it out because obviously we need to get that the cat muscles done. So just as a reminder, guys, knock out your muscles so the cat muscles are like boom, 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 right? There's a few small differences between the cat muscles and the human muscles. So knock out the human muscle model. So when we get to the cat, it's like boom, 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 boom. Okay. So that's where we are today. All right. With that being said, I am going to jump to the spinal cord Okay, let me jump to the spinal cord. Okay, now in lecture you should have. Oh, slide. Hold on. So this one is slide 44. Is that what you want to know?
No, I was saying the spinal cord slide. That's what we're covering. I was just making sure I was reiterating my notes over here.
Oh, okay, yep. So actually, so what we're gonna do here is, and I'm in my slide deck, I'm skipping all of the nerves. So we're gonna go back to do the nerves. We've done most of them, but we're gonna go back to make sure that we cover everything on this list. There's a few things that I'm adding, but they're really easy. The cauda equina, the conus medullaris, we'll go over that, but not today. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on the microscope slide spinal cord, because that information we're going to use in the spinal cord cross-X. We're going to use it in the spinal cord cross-X plus vertebra. Once we have this slide down, we transfer it right into the model. Okay, guys? So that's what we're going to do today. So if you're in my lecture, we went over this part very quickly. We went over the, yes, good. We went over the verbiage very quickly. So we're gonna do this, and we're going to knock out all of that list on page 150. Now, just like I said in lecture, we are going to use this when we get for lecture, right? So do yourself a favor. If you're in my lecture, you've got me next Tuesday and next Thursday. If you're not in my lecture, you've got something next week, right? You need this information for lecture. Knock it out. Just knock out this so that you can, if you were to take this part of the test on Monday, microscope, slide, spinal cord, you would knock everything out. It will help you in lecture. Okay, guys? So that's, for my lecture, guys, you have to do it. Because when we get started, I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to expect you to know where all of this stuff is, because we're going to go in so much detail today. For everybody else's lecture, it's probably in your best interest, but I'm not your teacher, so I can't whip you into submission. Not that I can whip. I can't whip anybody into submission. Apparently I tried. So knock out everything we're going to do today by Monday. Book slap. Choo. Yes, but this is also a textbook slap or a lecture book slap. Choo. A double slap. So you're really going to need this. So again, knock this stuff out by Monday so that you're ready for brain damage. We don't want that. That's counterproductive. All right, guys, so let's do it. As you probably heard in lecture, we have the terminology. Dig in the sound effect. Yeah. All right. So the terminology is in front of you. Horns, columns, roots, spinal nerves, and ganglia. Okay, so again, what are we focusing on? We're focusing on page 150 under microscope slide spinal cord. All of this stuff transfers to the model. Okay, so here we go. So, important, write this down. Write it down. You'll need it for lecture. Write it down. You'll need it for here. The dorsal root is sensory. What I recommend is you put it on a sticky note and then start transferring it as you're looking at your notes or your pictures or whatever, right? You're going to move it around. So the dorsal root is sensory. The information from the sensory receptors goes into this root, in towards the spinal cord. Another way of saying this is afferent sensory. If you're in my lecture, y'all know what that means. And if you don't tell me you don't know. So, because it's the peripheral nervous system. So the afferent sensory pathway is going to go through the dorsal root towards the spinal cord. Afferent towards the atlas. If that works for you, but remember, you could still, it's however it works for you. So afferent is going to be in the PNS. You haven't reached the spinal cord yet. You are outside of the spinal cord, and so that's coming towards the spinal cord, and this is called the dorsal root, and it's sensory. Oh, okay. I'm with you. The only thing is it can get a little confusing because you could be going towards the atlas from the brain as opposed towards the atlas from the spinal cord. Okay, awesome. Oh yeah, that just means nerve. Sorry, guys. So that all those words say afferent sensory root of the spinal nerve. The big thing is this. Know that dorsal root is sensory and it's an afferent pathway. Afferent sensory. The ventral root, right? Now remember, let me add one more thing. Dorsal means posterior. Important, right? Dorsal root is sensory. It's an efferent pathway, and the dorsal means posterior. Ventral means anterior, and the ventral root is motor. It's going out away from the spinal cord. It's an efferent pathway. Okay, and that just says efferent motor root of the spinal nerve. So that's what you have to know. It's non-negotiable. You have to know that dorsal root means a sensory pathway. That is afferent. It's going from the sensory receptors, TT-triple-P for my folks, or the special, and then it's going towards the spinal cord, and that's afferent. And then the ventral root is motor, which means it's going out that ventral root towards the skeletal muscle. And that's an efferent pathway because efferent is peripheral nervous system, afferent is peripheral nervous system. Ascending and descending is central nervous system. All right, guys, awesome. So you got to know that. Now, here's another image, right? So here we go. Let's start adding the idea of the horn and the column. So we have something called gray matter. The gray matter, we know there's gray matter in the brain. It's the gray matter is at the cerebrum, right? The soma, the cell body of the neurons. The white matter are axons, and you see that kind of deep within the cerebrum. Well, here we're at the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord, okay, guys? And what we have in the middle, yes, so we have the tracts. So we have tracts, and then we have tracts, and then we have nerves. So we do differentiate those. Right now, when we're at the spinal cord, we have this part that's in the middle. I call it like the butterfly because it kind of looks like a butterfly. And that's the gray matter. Now, the gray matter here is going to be the same as the gray matter in the brain, which is the cell body of neurons. That's why it stains darker, gray matter. So these are the cell bodies of the neurons. The gray matter has the horns. Okay, guys? So I would make a really crude drawing of the spinal cord with a little butterfly in the middle, and I would put horns in the butterfly because that's what they're called. The areas inside where the cell bodies are in this butterfly in the spinal cord are called horns. Now, everything around the butterfly is white matter, axons, right? And in this white matter, we call this part columns. So the white matter are the columns. The gray matter is the horn. Okay? So that's what you got to know. Butterfly, gray matter, horn. Everything around the horn, the white matter, columns. Those columns are axons. The horns are cell bodies. Okay, boom. That's what you have. Now, here we have an image of the dorsal root. Remember, dorsal means posterior, so you got to put a P there. Ventral means anterior, so you got to put an A there. Okay? So what this tells you is that there is a root going towards the spinal cord at the posterior end of the spinal cord, and that pathway is sensory. Okay, it goes in towards the spinal cord. It's going to go up towards the brain, right? In this case, it's going to end up at the postcentral gyrus. You know that from lecture. The anterior portion, which we see here, is bringing motor output out of the spinal cord in this efferent pathway towards the skeletal muscles. Don't worry so much about the ramus. Just know, like, these ones are like offshoots. They're like little offshoots. The lecture notes do talk about it. You can go back and look at that. Ultimately, what you get, though, is a spinal nerve. These two roots, the dorsal and the ventral, join together, and that's one of your spinal nerves, one of your 31 spinal nerves. Okay, guys? One more thing that we have, this bulb in the dorsal root is called the dorsal root ganglion. Just like you learned before, ganglion is a clustering of cell bodies in the peripheral nervous system. So this is the ganglion of unipolar cell bodies. Okay, a bunch of cell bodies are in this bumped out part. That's why it's so fat, because they're cell bodies and not axons. I thought the anterior median fissure was deeper from the posterior sulcus, but here it's not. It's not. They're complete. You think about them as being parallel. So the anterior median fissure is here. The posterior median sulcus is here. All the way up the spinal cord. They're basically parallel to each other, back to front. Okay? So adding on to this conversation, this part here, the anterior median fissure, is the front, and there's actually a little bit of a groove here, usually. Sometimes it looks like a line. That's going to tell you as well, that's the anterior median fissure. Now, in the back, what ends up happening is this looks like a triangle, and it stains looking like a triangle. And then you can see maybe a little bit of a line. And That's the posterior median sulcus. Yeah. 143. Oh, you gotta really spell it out for me, because you know it's not gonna happen. Is that in the lecture notes, do you mean, or what reference are we talking about for 143? Oh, that manual? Okay. 143. Yeah, okay, so 143, yep. So you can see for the lab manual on page 143, the what you're looking at is the bottom of that image is the anterior median fissure. The opposite end that looks like kind of like a triangle in a line, doesn't look like a triangle here, but it does under the slide. That's the posterior median sulcus. And again, you can find the posterior by the dorsal root ganglion, or by this posterior sulcus, which is a line, or you can find the anterior with the anterior median fissure. Okay, but that is really important because sensory goes in here, motor goes out here. Right now, I'm going to add one more thing for you guys. If this is posterior, and this is anterior, which we know it is because this is dorsal and this is ventral, where is the posterior white column? Put an X at the posterior white column. That's it. I would go back a bit. Yeah, they're going to go back a little bit more. Yep. Where is the lateral white column? So I'd go back a little bit more. Yep, lateral white column. That's it. Boom. Where is the anterior white column? Oh, you jumping the gun? Anterior white column. Great. Now, with that being said, where is the posterior gray horn? Boom. Where is the anterior gray horn? Yes. Where is the lateral gray horn? That's it. We don't really have a medial gray horn. I haven't seen a medial gray horn. Now, if this is the anterior gray horn, is this going to be an area of motor integration or sensory integration? Motor. Why? Because that's the motor pathway. So that means that the posterior gray horn is going to be an area for what? Sensory or motor? Sensory. Why? Because that's the sensory pathway, the dorsal root. Right, guys? You see that? Now remember, columns mean axons. They're going up all the way up the spinal cord. Here, the gray matter is where you get some integration, and you're going to come in sensory, you're going to go out motor. Okay? Again, columns go up. Motor comes down from the column. In other words, from precentral gyrus in the cortex all the way down, right, in the column. And then you have sensory going up to the postcentral gyrus. Okay? All right. So, and again, here you can see that, right? Nicely colored, where you can see the anterior column, lateral column, posterior horn, anterior horn, and then you can see the columns that go up are sensory columns to the postcentral gyrus. The columns that come down are coming from the precentral gyrus all the way down. And then you can see that, as we kind of inferred earlier. Now, we do have it's okay. That's fine. So that's kind of what we see here. I don't want to muddle anything up. All right. So here's another image, which I kind of showed you in lecture. And you can see the butterflies in the middle, gray, the gray matter, that's the horns. White matters all around. Those are the columns. This is the anterior median fissure. This is the anterior, posterior median sulcus over here. This is the dorsal root ganglia. This is the ventral root, right? And again, you can just take a picture of this, and then you can see the information pathway. Sensory information comes in this way, and then you're going to get up to the brain. Motor information is going to come down, and it's going to go out through the ventral root. Okay, so that's what we see here. With that being said, here is just some overview, which we talked about in lecture. You're going to have to understand the idea of tracts, right? So the tracts here as Tanya said, are associated with the central nervous system. They're the axons, and they're named based on where they start and where they end. So spinal thalamic means it's going to be an afferent pathway from the spine to the thalamus. I lied. It's an ascending pathway. An ascending pathway. Corticospinal is from cortex to spine, which is a descending pathway. We're still in the central nervous system. Just a little bit of stuff there. And again, like we saw, columns, white matter, it's dorsal, ventral, lateral, or posterior, anterior, lateral. Okay. Similar to the horns, which is the butterfly, the gray matter. We've got, again, when you're in the central nervous system, it's going to be descending. And then when you leave the central nervous system through the ventral root, it's going to be an efferent pathway. Okay, again, here, the cells in the dorsal root ganglion, there's no ventral root ganglion. There's only a dorsal root ganglion. And that's unipolar neurons, which have to do with special senses. Okay, so again, you can see posterior gray horn, lateral gray horn, anterior gray horn, etc. Okay, horns, gray matter. Wait, there. Horns, gray matter, columns, white matter. Boom, that's it. Now, what did we just do? We just went over, if you go back to your lab manual for a second, and if you want, write it out on the page 143. Right, you can be writing this or just taking pictures. And actually, I think in the atlas it's page 119 or 123. I have a note here. Anyway, with that being said, we've just gone over anterior, posterior gray horn, anterior, lateral, posterior white column, ventral root, dorsal root ganglion, unipolar neurons, central canals in the middle, and we'll get to the thing. 119. Thank you, Diana, for the model of the spinal cord here. Unipolar neurons, again, are found in the dorsal root ganglion. Pia mater is, I'll show you that in the slide. Central canal, the middle, I'll show you dura mater. Anterior median fissure, we saw that. Here, posterior median sulcus, we saw that. So let's just put it all together. And this is an example of the reflex arc, which we're going to take care of next week when we knock out the nervous system. All right, we're going to come back to this. Don't worry. All of this we're going to come back to. Coming back here. All right, guys, are you ready? That is an example of the spinal cord slide. This is not our example. It is an example. Please show me so that we can orient ourselves very quickly. Where is the anterior median fissure? Yes. Now, it's not open there. Oh. Somebody give me the posterior. Hold on. Where is the anterior? There. Stay there, guys. That's anterior. Good. Now, where is the posterior median sulcus? You can see that triangle. It's just a line. There we go. Good. Now, where is the dorsal root ganglion? Do not freak out that you're seeing it somewhere else because they come together to make the nerve eventually. That's dorsal root ganglion. Excellent. Now, are you ready? With that being said, I'm going to erase it. Where is the posterior horn or posterior gray horn? What do we say here? Posterior gray horn. Perfect. Both of those are posterior gray horn. Awesome. Where is the anterior gray horn? That's it, anterior gray horn. So first thing you got to know is orientation, guys, anterior, posterior. Great. Where is the lateral gray horn? Oh, stay on the butterfly. Go to the side. That's it. All right. Where is the posterior white column? That's it. That's right. Both sides. Where is the anterior white column? Good. Where is the lateral white column? Boom, boom, boom. That's what I want. Sweet. Now, in this image, dura mater, pia mater, right there, right on the spinal cord. Okay. For your information, this would be the dorsal root. This is the ventral root. Together, they come together, and down here, they become the spinal nerve. All right, guys, that's it. Good. Now, guys, where are the motor neurons or the cell bodies of the motor neurons? Careful. Whoever did the red was absolutely correct. Yes. Why? Because the motor neurons, what we want is the stoma there. Now, it says motor neurons, but we want the stoma of the motor neurons, which means, remember, ventral root, motor neurons. Dorsal root, sensory neurons. Right, guys? That's right. Those motor neurons are going to be found in the gray horn. Boom. Right? Ventral anterior. Now, where are the unipolar neurons? Where'd you find the unipolar neurons? Oh, yeah, person in the black got it first. Dorsal root ganglion, guys. Dorsal root ganglion are the unipolar neurons. I know. It was a good guess. Listen, it was good. I appreciate it. Dorsal root ganglion has the unipolar neurons. Good. Awesome. Oh, by the way, that's the central canal. See the little hole there? That's it. All right, guys. Awesome. So we did everything. Let's just knock it out. Let's just do it. All right. Actually, this one's everything's labeled. So if you want to take a picture of this, you can see everything labeled nicely. It's a really good image. Obviously, it's not from our slides, but we don't talk about the commissures. We don't really focus on the commissures. Now, we do have the commissural tracts in the brain. That's something different, right? They're similar, but here we're just talking about the roots, etc. So this is good. Take a picture of this. All right. So again, you can see I've got a couple images here. You can see the dura mater. You can see the pia mater. You've got the dorsal root. Here, the root's coming out, and it's going to be kind of coming this way, out this way. And then it's dorsal, so you get like a bump out over here with unipolar neurons in there. Okay? Central canal, there's my butterfly, gray matter, white column, pia mater. Again, just right attached there. Okie-dokie. Again, lateral columns, dorsal columns, anterior columns. Just go with what we have. We're using anterior, posterior, and lateral, and that's fine. Obviously, dorsal is the same thing as posterior. Okay. This one here. So all of these, I just got off the internet. Now, don't just get anything off the internet. Make sure that it's at a .edu or a technical college or something like that. Or usually you won't find these images from a textbook. They don't have a lot of slides on a textbook. All right, let me know when you're good, Gloria. All right, so as you can see, it's not that bad, right? But you got to make sure. Okay, this is our image. All right, so first things first, anterior median fissure, go. Yes. Now, there is no real fissure there, but find my triangle. Guys, look at my triangle. Where's my triangle? Yes. You guys see that? Let me erase it. Okay, not that triangle. That's not it. No, that's not it. All right. This is the triangle. Can you guys see this slight stain right there? You see that stain? The sulcus is this line here. So this one is a much thicker line. Often you'll find it like a fissure. This one doesn't look like a fissure, so it gets confusing. But watch. The sulcus is just that, and really you can see that stain with the triangle. All right, guys. Again, anterior median fissure. Anterior median fissure. Good. Important, you can recognize that. Posterior median sulcus. It's the line. Now, with that being said, are you ready? Now I've got to reorient myself. Literally, I'm flipping everything in my head now. Okay, if that's anterior. Where are the anterior gray horns? That's it. This is a small butterfly, guys. It's not a big butterfly. Okay, awesome. Where are the lateral white columns? That's it. Now you want to go over. Careful, guys. You want to go over. Don't go too close to the butterfly. You want to go lateral, right? Yeah. Go over with that. Because lateral is going to be over here, right? Yeah. Go lateral, right? Okay. Where is the lateral gray horn? Stay in the butterfly. Good. Where is the central canal? That's right there. Good. Where is the posterior gray horn? Okay. Where would you find the motor neurons? Go right anterior, guys. Get right anterior. That's it. Stay on the butterfly, but go right anterior. Good. That's right. Because the anterior median fissure is front. Anterior median fissure is where the size you're going to get the ventral root. And it's on that anterior gray horn that you have the cell bodies of the motor neurons. Awesome. Now you can't see any of the roots very well. So technically this is a root. So this is a root and this is a root, but that's hard. Can you show me the pia mater? Yeah. I think we'd go either red guy over here or orange guy over here. Yeah. We wouldn't go all the way into the fissure, although technically that would be correct. We wouldn't go all the way into the fissure. Now, dura mater, guys, would be this over here. I don't think we'd ask, but it would be over here. Actually, I'm afraid that would be one of our roots. I think that would be one of our roots. The dura mater is more over here, guys. This is one of our roots here and here. This is the dura mater here. I know it's kind of tricky. I don't think we'd ask here because all you can see the dura mater clearly is this. All right, guys, good. Let's keep going. Now, I can't remember if this is one of ours, but anyway, where would you find unipolar neurons? That's it. That big. So technically, yeah, but stick with the big bulb. Stick with the bulb, guys. What do I mean? That's it. Yep. Yellow person. Awesome. That's it. Unipolar neurons are going to be found in there. That's right. And then, so this one's a little bit, so for example, guys, here, this is dura mater. You see that? That's dura mater. It looks a little far from the spinal cord, but that's okay. Okay, awesome. Now, guys, don't let this confuse you. This is the anterior median fissure. Now, this is not bad because you see how you can see a little bit of the fissure opening up? This is the anterior median fissure. Now, this is the dorsal root, and this is the dorsal root ganglion. But it comes up, and it kind of comes close to the ventral root because they're going to come together as the spinal nerve. So don't let this freak you out. Yes, this is still posterior. Now, this one's kind of janky. Like, I'm kind of looking for that. Like, it's kind of hard. That's my first impression. It's either there or here. It's hard to see. But the fissure is very clear here. So don't let it confuse you that I've got this dorsal root here, and then I've got this dorsal root ganglion, and then I've got this little ventral root here. It's okay. They're supposed to come together as a spinal nerve. So that's just what we got there. Okay, good. Now, here's an image. I don't know if I got this from the internet. So what you see here is, this is showing you motor neurons. So this is showing you the anterior gray horn. And it tells you that. Okay. It's kind of hard to see it, but if you follow it, now this is not ours. And so you're going to see like that. And here's the anterior median fissure. Exactly. Right. So again, just kind of pulling that together. All right. Awesome. And there's a blown up of the motor neuron in the anterior gray horn. All right. Awesome. And this image is the other one I showed you blown up. This is the dorsal root ganglion. It's this image, guys. Not sure. It's this one here. I don't know why I left a space, but so that's this image here. So these are the unipolar neurons. So these are not axons here. These are soma of the unipolar neurons. They're cell bodies. That's why it's so fat, because the cell bodies are fat while the axons are long. All All right, awesome. Here, again, just kind of giving you different images. Dorsal root ganglion, which means these are unipolar neurons, right? That's why they call it sensory neurons. That's what they are. Okay, and here they've just kind of, again, this is just from the internet, just to give you more kind of just whatever. Here they're sensory neurons. So these ones are, if these are unipolar neurons, then these are the soma. Okay, they're not the axons. And I think this one is from Blackboard, or at least from SoftChalk. Here, that is a nerve. These are all the axons that we talked about before. I don't know if I talked about that with you. I did. We talked about that in the last one, when we finished off the last one, that these are all going to be axons. The dots are axons. The area around it is a myelin sheath. Yes. Thank you, Diana. All right. And then again, just as a reminder, here's the perineurium on the outside of it, kind of surrounding it. Not nuclei. Good job. Good job. So Shannon, I'm going to take that as that's a statement. And then Diana is reinforcing it. Good. Very good. Exactly. Now, don't get confused. If you are in the dorsal root ganglion, those are soma. Those are cell bodies. But here in the nerve section, which is this, right? These are axons, right? And the dot in the middle is an axon with a myelin sheath surrounding it, and the dark pink being that endoneurium. All right, awesome. And again, here's just another thing, a nerve section. This is ours. It's just really, so when you look at this, I don't know. This is this. So the perineurium is over here. The pink, like it's just small. I don't know what they would do here. The black dots are axons. The space around it is a myelin. That's exactly right. That's exactly correct. Lots of axons. That's what a nerve is. A nerve bundle are tons of axons, right? Awesome. Okay, awesome. And that's it. So when you look at this, make sure you know this is a nerve. This is going to be a bunch of axons. The dark spots are going to be the axon itself. Anything around it, the light staining or white part is a myelin. The little pink around that is going to be the endoneurium. The perineurium is going to surround the whole thing, right? Which we see here. Just this stuff here. Okay? And then here, that's perineurium. Here, that's perineurium. Okay? All right. So where are we? 8:12. Oh, that's good. So both my classes are now in the same place. Now, I don't want you guys to be frustrated because you're like, oh my God, we haven't started 15 and 16 yet, which we have to do, and we're supposed to be doing it, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what I want you to do is knock out that microscope slide that we just did today. Obviously, you guys got it. It's not that hard. Find your anterior median fissure. That's the ventral root. Then you've got your anterior section. Find the posterior median sulcus. That's your dorsal root. You've got your posterior section. This might be a really dumb question, but since nerves are long, does that mean that the axon? Yeah, that's exactly what it means. They're super long. Remember that you don't know this yet. You should know that that there are two motor neuron pathways. There's the upper motor neuron and the lower motor neuron. The upper motor neuron goes from the cortex to the spinal cord, and then from the spinal cord out to the skeletal muscle. That's two. It is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I'm telling you, crazy. All right, guys. So let me summarize. Please knock out obviously whatever we did today because it's right there. It's fresh. It's in your head. It's there. Knock out the information for the microscope slide so that information is there because we're going to build on it next week, and I want to knock it out. Like those two, the model, I want to knock it out because we still have 15 and 16. And then we're going to really quickly knock out the other spinal cord stuff. We did almost all of it, right? The only thing we haven't done is the sympathetic trunk, which I'll show you, no problem. And again, that cauda equina, very easy. So literally we've done most of this already, but I got a couple things I got to knock out. I'm not going to really spend time on the reflexes. Not that I'm leaving you off in the wilderness, but literally just read them in the lab manual. So reflexes here, just read about them. Review them before the test, read about them, and you're good. In lecture, we go over detail for the stretch reflex, and we talk a bit about the pupillary reflex, okay? You want to know whether or not they're autonomic, whether or not they're voluntary, and literally just read about it, and you're good, okay? And that's where we are, because I want to knock out the 15 and 16 next week. But again, if we get a little bit behind, I don't want to get a little bit behind, which we are, but it's okay. Like, we still have time. We're not like screwed. Again, the important thing is that we cover the material, right? All right, guys. Any questions? It's not bad. It's not horrible. You guys got it. You guys answered all my questions. So what you need to do then is go home. You're at home. That's so funny. Sorry. Go to your other desk and study this so that you really get it in there. Would wine affect the axons? You know what wine would affect? Wine would affect the reticular system. We talked about this in lecture, that you've got a reticular brain. It's the reticular, there's another word in there with the reticular system. It's basically a couple layers of the brainstem, and that gives you, it sure did last night, reticular formation. Yes, I think that's it. Thank you, Melinda. And that area, it's in the brainstem, and that area is for alertness. So if you're alert now, you're good. When you sleep, that area starts to dampen down. And like I talked about in class, if you lose functioning in this reticular formation, you're in a coma. Also, if you, areas in the brainstem have to do with movement. So those neurons would impact it. All right. So that wasn't a good answer, but sorry. Okay. There's no jokes at 8 o'clock. She was like, I don't really want to know. All right, guys. See, but you're also good students. I assume that's what it was. Oh, Diana, you have a question? Wait, hold on. Diana, did you have a question? I missed it. Hold on. About the median fissure, about the median fissure. When we do the test, should we put posterior or dorsal? In the atlas, it says dorsal median. Okay, for the test, always use a lab manual, always. So even though it might say dorsal median, use whatever the lab manual says. You'll never go wrong that way. It's the same thing as but I would just always use the manual, the lab manual. And that's why we do it also, because it might be written in one way here, written one way there, but we just want to keep it consistent. So good question, Diana. Sorry about that I missed your question. I wasn't ignoring you. I was ignoring everybody else. Kidding. All right, guys, we are done.